Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another Big Gold Belt movie review. Today, we're bringing you a review of the most anticipated horror movie of 2025 from New Line Cinema. This one is called Weapons, and here's a quick synopsis. When all but one child from the same classroom mysteriously vanish on the same night at the exact same time, a community is left questioning who or what is behind their disappearance. And this is directed by Zach Cregger. It stars Josh Brolin, Julia Garner, Carrie Christopher, and Amy Madigan. Now, Weapons has been built in anticipation for close to a year now by just giving you a little bits and pieces of its plot. The main one being at 17 kids from the same classroom disappear in the middle of the night. And just off of that very simple premise, it's automatically engaging to find out exactly what's happening. So when we get to that point in the story, which is immediate, this movie does a great job of its tone and its pacing, where it jumps immediately into the crux of the story. There's no unnecessary backstory of the disappearances. Once we get there, we're there right at the beginning of the film here. And from there, this film builds upon its characters, or attempts, I should say, to build upon the characters by using the backdrop of the disappearances. So what we get through the film are title cards. And the title cards are different characters, whether it be Julia, who plays Justine in this film, whether it be Josh Brolin's character, whether it be little Carrie's character, Alex. Like, all of these things build upon, and it's a continuous storyline. So it's weaved through each other just to give you the picture of exactly, one, what the town is going through, and how central each character is to the overall plot of the movie. That's one of the best things about Weapons, is that this film's pacing and tone are almost perfect. Like, they do Zach does a masterful job of understanding that the quieter, tense moments are the ones that can really terrify people. And in this story, that's what you get more than anything, especially with the character Justine, played by Ms. Garner, is that you get that element of it. Her scenes in this movie at times are extremely tense. Not necessarily horrific, not even necessarily thrilling, but just tense. And I think that is what helps propel possibly people to think Weapons is a horror film. By those tense moments, it can propel you to think that. But as you go through the crux of the story, and as everything breaks down more and more, we get a signature of Zach, especially if you saw Barbarian, which is his ability to interject humor in moments you wouldn't expect humor. And for the first two acts of this film, he does a masterful job of just injecting humor with tense moments and the very few jump scares that you're going to get in this film. He does a good job at just developing the comedic elements of the film while not taking away from the tense moments and the seriousness of the plot for the first 2/3 of this film. By the time you get to the last, or the end part of the second act, probably to the third act, I think this is where it just completely goes off the rails and it almost turns into a full comedy. And that is part of the reasons why Weapons continues a trend of 2024 and 2025 with horror movies, or movies being categorized as horror movies, but are actually more comedic thrillers masquerading as horror movies. While this story is extremely interesting and the plot is well done here, this is not a horror movie. This is a comedic thriller at best. Comedic mystery thriller. If I told you this was a Knives Out movie, you would probably think the same thing. Like, it felt like that at points in time in this film, because it just felt like, especially by the third act, that the comedy was just overdone. Especially by the time we get to a very explosive ending of this film that is straight comedy. And if your love of horror can really take you out of those elements. Luckily, what Zach manages to still keep in there is this amazing story and an amazing plot to keep you thoroughly intrigued throughout, even through the minimal amount of kills, which is also a plus in this film, that is not overly gory for anyone to see. But through those minimal kills here, it's very much comedic moments in those kills, but they're still tense enough to keep an audience intrigued. I think that's the key element of Weapons, is that the story will lock you in and it will keep you on the edge of your seat as you're trying to figure out the story. But at no point does that story, to me, help interject more horrific elements of it. It just feels like a mystery. Like, if this was a film noir, it would be no different than anything else. And I don't know if that's a testament to Zach's ability as a director, or if it's more of a testament to the performances. But you're still intrigued, even though at times you can be disappointed by the product that you get on the screen, because it's not the horror movie that you were promised from the get-go. From a visual standpoint, the film is amazing. It's scored amazingly and it's filmed amazingly. It's some shots in this film. It's a shot in a grocery store, in a gas station, I should say, in here. And it's a very action-tense scene and moment. And the camera angles just heighten every bit of the thrilling moments of it. It is masterfully done here. And I think that, again, another positive for this movie. I think the only negative of this film is the over comedic element of this film. If you liked a film like The Monkey, which was released late last year, or Hard Eyes, that was released earlier this year, I think this movie's up your same alley. While it's more slower paced than those films are, it still paced well. It's just slower paced than those films. It still has the same thrilling, comedic, mystery moments that those films had in it. Weapons does the exact same thing. So if that is your thing, which is now becoming a trend in horror, or in supposed horror, is adding these elements in it to throw you off a bit. If that is your thing, I think this movie is going to work perfectly for you. If not, this movie could really remind you of M. Night Shyamalan film. It literally reminded me of The Visit as I was sitting to watch it. If you ever saw M. Night's Visit, this movie reminds me of The Visit. And I am a fan of The Visit. It's not the greatest movie in the world, but it's still well enough executed, and it's entertaining enough to push through everything. And I think that's the same exact take I got away with from Weapons, is that while it's not the best movie, it's far from the horror movie that I thought we were going to get this year. It's not even the best executed, to me, horror comedy. That belongs to Until Dawn. But it's still executed enough to be entertaining, while also at the same time not being as great as the premise is. The premise is amazing. The film does not live up to the premise, and that's what you're stuck with this film. In the end, kind of is a bit of a disappointment that you didn't get the execution that the premise, to me, demands to have here. At times, especially by the time you get to the third act, it feels like we're rushing to a conclusion more than naturally letting it play out. Part of that could be because these characters, while on their face, they're great. It's really set up wonderfully. We don't dig deep into any of them enough to get the feelings necessary to push the plot forward. Down to the big reveal and the big threat in the film. And even from that perspective, you just want a little more. You just want a little more explanation about what's the motivation behind everything. Granted, you see it coming from a mile away. That's why I say by the time you get to the end of the second act, beginning of the third act, you know exactly where this movie is going. At that point, there's no surprises left. Only surprise left to give you is more comedy than anything else. But Weapons, brought to you by New Line Cinema. This film comes out this Friday. Out of a possible 10, I am going to give Weapons a 6.5 out of 10. Definitely an entertaining film. Definitely something that you can watch and I think thoroughly enjoy. But if you are going into this film expecting a horror film or anything in the vein of a Bring Her Back, anything of that nature type of vein, I think you're going to be thoroughly disappointed. But if you just go in it and you're expecting an entertaining romp, I think Weapons is for you. It's not necessarily the jump scare film. It's not the gore film, but it's a film with such a great premise that it's going to leave you wishing it was executed a little better. But you still do get solid performances in this film, enough to carry it to make it a film that I think you could enjoy in the theaters. But check it out. Let us know what you think. This has been Another big gold belt movie review. Peace, people.